recording.
Welcome everybody. I am Sarah Schwallier with Walk2Connect, and I have Darcy Kitching here with me, who is one of the founding members of also Walk2Connect. So hello Darcy, welcome
Hi.
to
Thank you.
our fun interview. We wanted
Yeah.
to come to you today with her new book, and it is about the best urban hikes in Boulder. So Darcy, first tell me a little bit about you and how you got started with Walk2Connect.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Well, I have been involved with Walk2Connect for a little over 5 years now, and it's hard to believe. I mean, the time goes so fast, right? I first got involved as a volunteer. I had actually met Jonathan Stalls, the founder, through his dad. His dad and I had worked together on a commission in Denver, and Dave, John's dad, introduced me to Jonathan because he could see that our interests were really aligned. And that was in 2010, just before Jonathan took off on his cross-country walk, his epic Delaware to San Francisco walk. And I just kind of kept my eye on what he was doing, and I was really interested. And so later on, a few years down the road, I reached out because I was interested in where Walk2Connect was going. I mean, I could see that Walk2Connect had been developed after Jonathan's big walk. And I actually had a friend here in Boulder who wanted to walk the Camino de Santiago. And that was another big walk that Jonathan and his dad had done. So I referred her to him, and I reached out, and I ended up doing the training. My friend didn't end up doing the walk leader training. I ended up doing it. And then I just got really connected, literally, with all of what Jonathan and the team were doing. And I think you had gotten to know him before I did. You've known Jonathan for a long time, right? Many years.
Yeah.
And I think, you and I didn't really meet until about 2016, probably, right?
Yeah.
But it was about 2015 when I think I got trained in March 2015, and then I started really doing our programming here in Boulder. Jonathan had established a relationship with the city of Boulder, and it was kind of a natural fit for me to take up that relationship and build that program since I live here in Boulder. And it's just gone from there. So it's been an incredible experience. The first big experience that I had with Walk2Connect after my training was a 9-mile walk through Boulder. And I tell you, I will never forget that because it was so transformative. I had never experienced my own city in that way. And I wrote about it afterward, talking about how Boulder sometimes feels like a kind of a string of pearls. There are these little destinations that we like to go to, the Pearl Street Mall, a park, a trailhead, and these things can seem very separate and far apart. And what we did on that walk is we strung the pearls in a way that I had never experienced before. And wow, that really, it helped me understand how we can do that. It helped me understand the value of doing that. And I just walked on from there, and I started creating routes like that. So I really credit, Walk2Connect and Jonathan specifically with the great joy that I've had in the last 5 years, just discovering Boulder and making friends here. And really helping to invite people into new ways of experiencing the city. So it's been just an amazing experience for me.
Yes, yes. I think you've done such a beautiful job of stringing all of those pearls together. Just what's coming to mind for me is the Walk 360. When you started that and invited me into a few of the walks last year, and then into that whole, the whole 360. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about that. And I think that, like you were saying, those pearls and just seeing the different parts of the city. I mean, now when I go through Boulder, I really am like, I walked through that and it was really long, but I really feel this connection, this deeper, just value that I feel from Boulder, that I can really see each piece and see where they connect. So tell us where you came up with that idea of the Walk 360.
Well, thank you. And isn't that amazing? I mean, to have that experience of linking all the different parts of the city that we usually just experience very separately. And I'm really grateful for your engagement in that, because it was 2017 when I developed this concept of walking all the way around the city. And I developed that during a meeting, a meeting with the city of Boulder and all of our partners working on Walk and Bike Month programming. I was responsible for the walking part of Walk and Bike Month. And there has been for 20 years or more here in Boulder what they call a B360, which is a bike ride loop around the city. And it's about, I think there are two. There's one that's about 11 miles for families, and then there's one that's about 22 miles. And so I started thinking during this this meeting about, well, how do we walk all the way around the city, and what would a loop look like for walking? And of course, I had created little neighborhood loops, but I hadn't created a whole city loop. Yeah. So I actually sat in this meeting and I pulled up Google Maps and I like drew the loop based on the paths and trails that I thought we could connect. And that was kind of the first rudimentary take on it. But I ended up designing a 26-mile loop. So it was fun to market, because you could say that we were doing a slow marathon. We were walking around the city so slowly, which I think actually when we were doing it together in 2018, we moved pretty fast, but at about 3 miles an hour, it takes about 8 hours to go all the way around the city. And with our breaks, we average, I think we end up spending about 10 hours outside on those days when we do it all at once. And we've done it also in 4 segments. So you don't have to do it all at once. You could do half of it, or you can do a quarter of it. So it's nicely designed in a way that you could easily do that with having a partner, pick you up or take a bus from one end to another. But as a loop, it's 26 miles. And what I love about this route, and I hope that it just keeps, we're just going to put it out there for the public to do on their own this year. And I hope people really take us up on that invitation, because it's an amazing way to see how you can link dirt trails, paved multi-use paths, sidewalks, streets without sidewalks, alleyways, dirt roads. There's basically every surface you can imagine walking on is in the Walk360, and that's very intentional. And we've also modified the route since 2017. We've modified it a couple of times to incorporate new infrastructure that the city has invested in, such as a multi-use path that now goes under the train tracks, under Foothills Parkway, so you no longer have to go down to Valmont and cross at grade. Mm-hmm. In fact, I don't think there really are any grade crossings that are stressful in this route. They're all either underpasses or non-stressful grade crossings. So it's a really wonderful way to experience a low stress, high nature, joyful walk. And I think, and again, that's something I really learned from this concept that we have at Walk2Connect of not only connecting people, but connecting places. I mean, it's in our name. We really intentionally connect people to each other, people to themselves, which is another really important part of what we do, mm-hmm. and connecting people to places. And I have taken that really literally and to heart, to make those connections so that people can see the diversity of the city. So you also, on the Walk360, you also walk through neighborhoods where there are big fancy architect designed houses, and you walk through areas where there's multifamily housing, and you walk through, you walk alongside some mobile home parks, and you walk alongside some, parks, some ditches, it's kind of everything. It's a taste of everything that's here in Boulder. And what I love about that too is that it sparks these conversations mm-hmm. about who has access to what more do we need of in our city, how do we ensure equitable access to all of these assets that we have, and how do we really help people see the city as a walkable place. And we know that a lot of parts of it are very walkable. Like, people flock to Pearl Street, they flock to the trailheads. But when you imagine and when you actually experience walking on streets and connecting networks of multi-use paths, sidewalks, trails, then you get this sense of, I don't have to drive to a trailhead. I can bike there, I can walk there, I can get there by bus. And I think that's been a really, really important part of our programming and our message here in Boulder, is helping people really see how they can get around the city more in a more active way, and just imagining their lives and enacting their lives in a more active way. So it's been a wonderful adventure.
I love it. I love it. I know that I've told you a million times that the Walk 360 was just so inspiring for me. I still remember walking with Kate and her granddaughter and Roger, and just really, and the laughing, just, I mean, that the whole thing was just connection to others, this connection to myself and connection to place. It really exemplified all of those things. So thank you for having that vision in the middle of a meeting. How grateful we all are. And I'm excited that you're still going to be doing or giving us the route so we can be doing it hopefully this summer and throughout
Yeah.
Walk and Bike Month.
And just putting it out there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put out the word. Tell us about this awesome book. So you are now an author, which is awesome. I love this, and I don't know, it's like really nice to read also because you're so good with your words and just how artful you are in describing things. So tell us why did you write this book? And yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm so grateful for everything that you've done with us too, Sarah, and for all of your help and advocacy through this. I mean, it's been so great working with you on this too. And so the book really came about because one of our Walk2Connect members, or partners in Denver, Chris Engler, wrote the Denver version of this book called The Best Urban Hikes Denver. And she did that, and it's published by Colorado Mountain Club Press. So I had actually mentioned to Chris, if they need someone to do the Boulder version, I'd be happy to do that. I'm an experienced writer and editor. That's kind of that's the bulk of my career, is writing and editing. And so she did. The Colorado Mountain Club already had an author chosen, I think, for the Boulder book, but then somehow that fell through and they reached out to me. And so I took the assignment, and that was it's kind of amazing how long it took me to put this thing together, but it does. The production process can be lengthy and a little arduous, but I started the process in August of 2018, and I consulted with our Boulder Ramblers, of course, because here we're talking about the best urban hikes Boulder, and we really specialize in hiking, the city and the county. And what we ended up including in this book was a selection of hikes that ended up being 22 routes all around Boulder County. So it's not just the city of Boulder, it's actually Boulder, Lafayette, Louisville, Longmont, Niwot, and Superior. So there are routes in all of those towns, and some of them link. So for instance, you can walk from Lafayette to Superior on the Coal Creek Trail, and that's one of the routes in the book. But I have experienced all of these trails and done them all with the Boulder Ramblers, and I love my friends so much for doing this with me. And there was one person in particular whom I'm so grateful to, Roger. I think you mentioned Roger. He and his wife have moved to New Zealand, sadly, but I am so grateful to him because he really worked with me on the trail list for the book, because I was kind of thinking, what's the variety here? What kind of things are we inviting people into? And I had actually received some specific guidance from the Colorado Mountain Club as well. The editor I was working with said that he wanted these trails to be east of the foothills. So they're all east of the foothills, except for one hike in Chautauqua Park and one hike from NCAR. So there are two kind of foothills hikes, but otherwise they're all east of the foothills. And they're all urban trail systems. So they're not necessarily the kinds of urban hikes like the Walk 360 or some of the other walks that we do with the Boulder Ramblers, where you're crossing streets. And these trails and the routes in the book are mostly defined trails. So they don't take a lot of decision making. It's pretty easy for a visitor or somebody who's new to the area to follow these routes, because you actually start at a specific trailhead and just follow that trail. They've all got a lot of nature and some water, beautiful trees, wildflowers, great views. Most of these trails too are wonderful for right now, surprisingly. I mean, of course, none of us could have predicted what was coming, but most of the trails in this book are actually very appropriate for what we're trying to do now, which is to distance physically from each other while still having the time and making that space for social interaction, where these trails allow for that physical distancing that we have to do right now. They tend to be wide, they tend to be gravel. There are two routes in the book. So there's one that is a little circuitous. The directions, I've been told, are very clear, so that's good. I'm getting really good feedback on the book, and friends of mine who are using the book say that this particular route, the one I'm thinking of, is the heart-shaped loop. Lovin' on Boulder heart-shaped loop. It's one of the routes here in the city of Boulder, and it does involve some navigation through a neighborhood, but it's peaceful, it's low stress, and I've been told that the directions are quite clear. So even people who are new to the area should be able to follow it pretty easily. And I have to say that that's really my favorite one in the book, because it's just kind of fun, and it goes a lot of different types of places. And this is the season for that hike, I tell you, because there is a tree tunnel. There's a beautiful tree tunnel that you have to experience. But yes, the tree tunnel, that's the McClintock Trail, the lower McClintock Trail. Oh my gosh, it is the most beautiful place in Boulder right now at this season, when it's green, when the water is flowing through there. It's just the most peaceful place. And I don't want everyone to flock there, but find some time and get yourself there, because it's gorgeous. And so with the book, 22 routes made it into the book. We did have to shrink it a little bit. I had originally designed 26 routes and wrote them up and designed the maps and everything, but to keep the book a decent length so it wouldn't get too expensive to sell, we kept it at 22 for the page numbers. But I am actually sending everyone who buys the book a PDF with the four additional routes that got pulled out of the book.
That's
so
awesome.
if you want the book, I have some on hand. You can also order them online.
We will
But
link.
I'll send everyone who buys the book that PDF with the bonus hikes.
Cool. Yeah, this is so perfect right now. I mean, with all of us with Walk2Connect trying to keep our group sizes very small and really trying to promote activity and healthy activity and exploration. And Boulder is just such a beautiful place for people to explore and get to learn the city. So tell me, you've mentioned Boulder Ramblers so many times, and I want to tell people that Walk2Connect has lots of different chapters. So if you're looking to start a chapter in your area, Darcy has a chapter called the Boulder Ramblers. And so tell us, what's so special? What have you learned about the Boulder Ramblers?
Oh my gosh, I love the Boulder Ramblers. So we established the Boulder Ramblers as a distinct chapter of Walk2Connect in the summer of 2015. And when we started, we had about 150 people or something kind of sign up in our meetup group. And now we've got over 1,500 people in that group. And we have a really wonderful kind of tight-knit group of about 50 who, kind of cycle through our walks, and we're always welcoming of new people. And of course, there are a lot of people who've signed up and are just kind of watching our activity, which is fine. But I love this group because we have really created a community. I think that the Boulder Ramblers exemplify the grassroots nature of Walk2Connect. They, together we've committed to our Thursday morning walks. I've been leading this Thursday morning walk for 5 years with only a few breaks. Other leaders have stepped forward and created their own walks. And it's just this wonderful group. I've made good friends through the Boulder Ramblers, and I love watching it evolve as well. There are some new people who've joined us this season. A few people who've just moved here to Boulder and are loving coming out with us and just exploring the city and learning about how you can, move around the city by foot. And to me, it really demonstrates that beautiful grassroots mission of Walk2Connect to help people build a community of support for walking, for even for things that aren't related to walking, but that we end up doing together. So we care for each other when there's a hardship or an illness. We've, supported each other's like baby showers, and there are extracurricular sort of events that we've gotten involved in together, and true friendships have formed. There are two women in our group, Robin and Kate, of course, who went on to walk a route of the Camino de Santiago in Spain together. So how beautiful is that? We've actually, people are developing real true friendships. And I love watching that happen. It's getting very windy. I'm just going to close my window here.
I love it. And
I don't want the wind to interfere.
They're just so special to me. And I really have loved your leadership and just seeing how you move and flow within the community and really listen to the community members and engage from just this, like you said, this grassroots caring about each other. And I'm so grateful that the Boulder Ramblers are like just this power, like we're in this and we're walking like 3 miles per hour.
Yes.
And I also want to highlight anybody who I've walked with who says that they've gone to one of they're like, Darcy and her energy is just beautiful. She is like, climbs up a mountain, she goes, and it's just like such a reminder of how great you are as a leader and just how nourishing you are to our community. So thank you for everything you do. Is there anything last bit or a what should we all do to help support you and your mission with the Boulder Ramblers?
Thank you. Well, you do that all the time. Wow, it got really windy all of a sudden. Thank you for how you do that all the time. And I want to say that I hear exactly the same thing about you and about Anna and about Maria and, everybody. I think all of us who've got involved in the kind of management and leadership of Walk2Connect, we all exemplify that spirit of just joy and creating community. And that's really what we're all about. And we're always looking for, people to join us in that, in this kind of delight. And I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for you and everyone else in Walk2Connect for all that we do together and just the communities that we've built up. I think that it's been life changing for a lot of people, and that really warms my heart. And I hope that we can continue to do that more and more. Just keep growing our communities, keep welcoming more people, keep spreading this real spirit of life at 3 miles per hour. I love having the conversation about what is life at 3 miles per hour and how we can carry that through into every part of our lives, how we work, how we talk to other people, how we just lead our lives in a more conscientious, slowed down, and thoughtful way. And Walk2Connect has really given me that gift, and I am so grateful.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you, friend.
Yeah, of course. So
big virtual hug.
Yeah.
Yay!
I will just reiterate this is an awesome book. Even if you're just wanting it to have on hand, I highly recommend it. Like Darcy said, we'll put a link to buy it online. But support the local people here, and we're doing everything we can to just keep our communities together safely. And just again, so grateful for your leadership. Thank you, friend.
Thank you. Thank you so much.